Now, on a more practical sense, we we discussed declaring a starting value. Let me start my IntelliJ. Okay, starting with which one should I? If condition for loop. Okay, let's start with the last one. So we discussed the for loop, and we said it always have a starting value, a condition, and an increment, right? So we looked into one or two examples before we called it a day last week, right? So we said that, for example, looking at this, we have our starting value from 1 and a condition that the value has to be less or equal to 2. So when you are looking at this condition now, there are two things it has to be. Number one, the values has to be less than 10, and number two, it has to be equal to 10. So we also have the increment, that is, you increase by 1 and then you loop through. You increase by 1 and then you loop through, and then you increase by 1 and then you loop through. That is how it works. We discussed the while loop and the do while loop. We said, where's the while loop itself? I'm not sure I saved the while. This is do while. Okay. Okay, so I will use something else here. So we talked about the while loop having a condition. Of course, you can start with a starting value. You can have a starting value and then your condition, and then you loop through without condition, right? So we also have the do while loop. All right, do while loop is going to execute your first condition before it loops through, and then it always check for a true value first. So your while condition has to be true, and when it is true, it will then loop through the condition, like look through the do what they ask you to do, what you ask it to do, and then it will execute it and then go round again, just like how a normal loop will work. And we said that in test automation, or generally in development, we make use of for loop more. Why? Because it is concise and easy to use, right? Okay, now today we are looking into arrays. All right, we are looking into arrays. And what is an array? Let me open my PowerPoint. Okay, so we are looking into arrays today. What is an array? It is a sequence of value, as you can see from this screen. In I'm not showing my, oh sorry, share. Okay, can you see my screen now? Can you see my PowerPoint? Okay, so we have arrays here. And so basically this week, what we'll be doing is I will quickly give a touchdown on array, and then we'll jump into OOP. So this week we'll do some part of OOP. We'll conclude it next week, and then actually I hope we can finish OOP this week, so that next week we'll be able to. But it's an area where we can't really rush, because you need a perfect understanding of it. So let's hope we can finish it all the same. So when you see a sequence of numbers, all right, either in a single line, a single row, or in a multi-dimensional line, or when you think of it as a table, when you have a table where you have the column names, and then the rows, you have columns and rows, then and probably you need to deal with columns and rows, then what you need to consider is your array, right? So we said that array is a sequence of values, and usually it consists of element and index. So we have different kind of array, right? So we have different kind of array, and we have different ways of declaring arrays. So now we'll talk about single array. All right, not multi-dimensional. There are multi-dimensional arrays too. Okay, so from my screen here, you see that we have different way of declaring. Let me start from here. So I have numbers 1 to 6, 32, 230, 21, 200. This is a sequence of number. All right, and as you are looking at it, this now 126 belongs to index 0. In an array, the first index is index 0, and then counts down to the last index. All right, so how many numbers do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 numbers here. All right, but the last index for this array here is 4. All right, so usually you calculate the position of the last number by saying length of the array minus 1. So the length of array here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is 5, minus 1 gives us the index of the last element. So each of these is what we call elements: 126, 32, 230, 21, 200. They are elements in this array, and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the indexes of this array. So we say, yes, we have started recording. All right, so we say for example, array index 4 is holding a value of 200. So in the memory space here, we say this element 200 is this element 200 is holding a space here in position 4. All right, so we say array always starts from index 0, and then it ends on length equals to n minus 1, which eventually gives the position of the last element. All right, so in declaring array, look at this one, or the first line here. We have int, then open square and close square bracket a, give it any name, equals to new int, then the size of your array. Int or square bracket open close, the name of your array, equals to new int, then you put the size of the array that you are declaring. All right, so we also have, meaning that what that means is any of the elements that you declare, you say it has to be 5 elements, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 5 elements in what position? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so this is another way of declaring your array. Again, we have int, then the name of the array, and then the open square bracket comes after the name of the array. Of course, there is a space here. That is the difference from this and this. There's no space here. You have int open array. Of course, there is space here too. There should be space here. Int open square bracket space a equals to. All right, so this one is int a square bracket equals to new int, size of the array. So the integer here refers to the data type, and the number inside the square bracket here refers to the size of the array. All right, so what do we have here? We say it starts from 0, it ends at 4, and then we have 5 elements. So of course this and this are the same, it's just the way of declaring them that are different. Okay, here we also have number 3. we have another way of declaring or initializing your array. We have the data type int, and then this. Instead of just giving it the array size, we decide to put the value there. So these are the values these are the element values. A value has been given in curly braces. So this is a curly brace showing that this one of value is in position 0, 2 value is in position 1, 3 values in position 2, and then position 3, and then position 4. So when you come here, you see it 1 2 3 4 5 0 1 2 3 4. All right. So another way, just like this, another way is to also say int square bracket a equals to new, then you give it the values of array, and that is it. So we have like four different ways of declaring and initializing our arrays. All right. Now for different data type, you can see integer, char, which is character, float, and then it is also integer. All right. For multi-dimensional array, I said there is a single array, there's multi-dimensional array. So multi-dimensional array refers to if you have done what is the name in mathematics again, where we talk about 2 dimension 2 by 2 matrices. All right, just like the way matrices look like: 2 by 2 matrix, 3 by 2, 5 by 5, and 2 by 4. So what that means in layman's language is like your table, like I was explaining the other time. You can have 3 columns by 5 rows. You can have 2 columns by 2 rows. You can have 3 columns by 2 rows. All right. You can have 5 columns by 5 rows, and so on. All right. So when you are dealing with things like that in programming, you make use of your array. All right. So we'll delve into the coding aspects now. So we have, let me create I'll call it arrays. All right. So I have my array here. I want to declare an array now. So I will say int. We talked about 2 different ways in which we declare. Okay, so I will say int what now? Int a, like we saw, equals to new what? New int. So what will I put here? I can call it 4. So 4 is the size of my array. All right, remember that this is your data type. This is the name of your array, and this is saying the size of the array that you need. All right, so that is the size. Okay, all right, so you can also do double. Maybe this time around we call it b equals to new double, call this 8 elements. All right, so those are that is a type of declaration. Let's consider the second type we talked about. So you can also do let me see, because I like using this type. Okay, we can also use the hint. Okay, so this equal to new new int, what is the size? Let's call this one 5. All right, or double new double size. Okay, that is you declaring your array. Now, how do we initialize the array to values? Okay, so we said that you can do it this way, but instead of this, what do? You do, okay, you use your, is it square bracket now, curly braces. Okay, so you use your curly braces and say 1, 2, 3. Okay, I've used A before, so let me call it F. 1, 2, 3, 5, and so on. All right, then I can also say double G equals let's call it okay, because I'm calling it double, it has to be double all right, all right, so you have assigned values to your array. So array is that simple. All right, now if we are talking about multi-dimensional array, how then do you do your multi-dimensional array in declaring multi-dimensional? Okay, multi-dimensional array. We are not working on the multi-dimensional array yet. I just want to declare something here. Okay, so we say multi-dimensional array, you make use of two square brackets. All right, 2 square brackets, nothing much, depending on the dimensional, the what will I call it, the kind of dimension it is. There's 2 by 2, there's 3 by 2, there's 5 by 5, there's 2 by 4, and so on. Right, so for example, if I'm to make use of this first one, 2 by 2, all right, so I will say okay, int a and g and g equals to new new int what, double. All right, so 2 by 2. Okay, what is this here? Have I used G before? Okay, All right. Then we can do, you can also do double and so on. Okay. Call this double. Oh, this is a keyword. H. Okay. Double H equals to new double. New double. I can use 3x2, 2x3, whichever one. All right, so that is that. Let's make use of this in a method. All right. We said that you can assign values. I think I've done that. So when you are looking at 1, yeah, 1 is what? 1 is in index 0. So let's find out if we can actually print the values. You said? You were saying something? Okay, yes. Okay, all right. You mean the multi-dimensional? Yes, it's in the same way too. When we get there fully, we'll talk about it. Right now, let's just deal with this single dimension. Okay. Okay. Let me just print it out. Stem.out.print line. So if I want to print the value, if I want to print the value here, for example, the value, the first value in F here, I'll come here and say F in value 0. Okay, what did I do? Okay, static int. Then I can print it out, and you see that it has printed the value in index 0. The value in index 0 of array F, the value in index 0, the value in index 0 of array F, this is it here, is what? Is 1. So you can decide to print the 1 in 2. I mean the index of the index 2, all right? The value in index 2 should be what? 0, 1, 2, should be 3. All right, so that is how you do that. Then if we are to use this array in a for loop, how do we go about that? All right, if we are to make use of this in a for loop, okay, I can decide to say should I use a for loop or use the main method? I mean, should I create a method or use the main method? Okay, let's use the main method first, then I will then create a method for it so that we can make use of both. Okay, so I can say can say for int I equals to 1 for an integer starting from 1. All right, for an integer starting from 1, give it a condition I less than what? Which of the array should I use? Okay, so let's use the one I gave values to, f. Okay, I less than the last value of f. Okay, then increment by 1. So starting from 1, we have 1, and then we have 1 plus 1, 2 is 2 less than what is the length here? 1, 2, 3, 4 is 2 less than 4. Yes, so it will print 2, and then add 1 to 2 is 3 less than 4. Yes, right. Then it will print, okay, so I think the condition is right. And then I will say system dot out dot print. What do I want to print this time around? Okay, plus f index of I. Okay, this one can be anything. What should I even put here? Okay, so what I've written here, let's explain the condition. I say start from 1. All right, print out 1, then look into this array, that is f dot length. I'm saying that what is the length of this array? 1, 2, 3, 4, which is like the size of this array. This is size 4. Look at this size. All right, and say if the value, all right, is less than 4, that is, if I is less than 4, then increment by 1. So at every step you increment by 1, check the condition, print. Increment by 1 again, check the condition, print. Increment by 1, check the condition, and print. That is how that goes. And for it to print, it should I added comma so that after the first value print, it should put a comma and say comma, and then print the second value, comma, print the third value, comma, something like that. Okay, it should be after. Okay, I was using an example here, but the example, they created a method. But for now, let's just do this one without method. Then we will create a method. We'll create a method, and all right. Okay, but I have an issue here. It's supposed to start from 1. How do I make it start from 1? All right, so it's just print 2, 3, and 5. Which is this? 2, 3, and 5. All right, it prints 2, 3, and 5. 2, 3, and 5, and which position? Position 1. Okay, it's actually very correct. So 2, 3, and 5 starts from position 1, 2, and 3. Right? Position 1, 2, and 3, up to the last one, which is 3. All right, so I think it's very correct. So sorry, do we understand? Do I need to explain again? Hello? Okay, I should explain again. All right, so we are saying that from any integer starting from 1, for int I starting from 1, all right, so starting from 1 here is starting from position 1, which is like index 1. So index 1 is of 2 value, index 0 is of 1 value. All right, but index 1 is of 2 value, meaning that by the time it starts to print to the screen, it will print from 2. And then we say, where should it end? It should end on the last value. The last value is what? Is your length. So I said I less than the length. All right, start from position 1, end on the last value, but as you print it, increment it. We talked about this increment last week. We said that is your step condition. So when you say, let me put a comment here. So if my first value that I should print is 2, all right, then if I say increment by 1, oh, let me start all over. Okay, so start from 1 and increase it by 1. All right, then you have a 2. All right, you have a what? A 2. Now take the 2 value, add a 1 to it, then you have a 3. all right, take the 3 value, add a 1 to it, then you have a 4. all right, now take a 4 value, add a 1 to it, then what do you have? You have a 5. That is the step. That is what it is doing. However, there is a condition to this thing. So when I ask it to print, it has to consider this condition. All right, so when I say f dot length in array, I'm referring to the last memory space in your array, which is your last word, your last value here. So I want it to start printing. All right, I want it to start printing from 2, and I want it to get to the last value. However, in the memory space there is no 4 value. So what do you think it will print? It will print 2, it will print 3, it will print what? 5, because 2 is in position 1, 3 is in position 2, 5 is in the last position. So it is the position values that it prints. Let's give more examples. Maybe you will understand it better. Okay, I have an example here. All right. Yes. Yes. Yeah, it becomes your new high. So the length is what is the length again? 1 2 3 4 is 4. Oh, I explained something the other time. I said your last value Let me put this thing inside. Last value, or the last position, equals to your length minus 1. Okay, now if you are to look at this, not last value, your last index equals to your length or size minus 1. All right, so what that means is that the size of this array is 4. All right, is 4, right? And the last index here is what? 0, 1, 2 is 3. Is 3, right? So what that means is 4 minus 3, minus 1, minus 1 equals to your 3. Now your 3 here, your 4 here equals to 4, and your index equals to 3. All right, so if we are going by this, okay, so if we are going by less than 4, all right, less than the size of your array, which is 4, am I right? If I less than 4, so if you are going by that, then we are printing, remember what we are printing is the index, right? So you are printing the index, which is like you are printing the value in this, which is 3. The 3 here is what? Is 5. 3 here is 5. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. The moment. Okay. Okay. Yeah. The last index there should be 3. Okay, I'm going to give a more convenient example now. I think I have jumped too high. Okay, I think I've jumped too high. Hold on. I need a more easy example, because I was even about to go ahead to start writing methods. All right. Uh, two 2 minutes, please. Okay, let me give you another example here. All right. So I'm going to comment out some of these things we declared here. This is just, I will leave this. So, yep. Okay, so here is me doing this. Okay, let me still comment this out. I started with saying that for example, this is my array here equals to 1 2 3 4. Now the size of array here is what? 1 2 3 4. All right, and it's from index. I have index 0 1 2 3, so I have 3 and I have size being what? Being 4. I think that was what I explained earlier. And I said if you want to print out value from that, or let me just see. Okay, this one. Okay, so I have array so I have my array name as a, which is an integer. Then I have index, array index. Array index array index equals to size of size of array minus 1. Okay, so what then do I have? So what is the index of 2? Index of 1 equals to 0. Index of 2 equals to 1. Index of 3 equals to what? Equals to 2, right? And the last one, index of 4 equals to 3. So meaning that in summary, when I say array index, okay, equals to the size. So for example, if the size here is 1 2 3 4, it is going to be 4 minus 1 equals to 3. So what is the length of the index here? 3. All right, so that is what I have. And if you notice, if assuming the size here is 3, all right, that means it's going to be 3 minus what? Minus 1. So if it is 3 minus 1, forget about the values you are looking at here. Let me change the values here to a random value. Okay, now if for example, I don't know why this thing is highlighting. If for example I have 3 sizes, array of size 3, then it's going to be 3 minus 1, which is equal to 2, meaning that it starts from 0 and then 1 and then 2. All right, so you want to know the index of this position, you just have to check for the length of it, of this array, or the size of it, which is 3, all right, minus 1. So at the end of the day, you know the index of this 3 by saying that the length, which is 3, let me assume this is 6 here. So the length, the length of this array here is what? 3. Now, for you to know the index of the last value, all right, so what do? You say your array length, hold on, minus, so you say your array length minus 1. So that is just very simple, meaning that your array length here is 3, right? Minus 1 here is 3 minus 1, which is equal to 2. So that is how you know what? That is how you know the index of you wanted to ask your question. Please ask. Those are your values. No. The index is not the length. You are getting it wrong. The size of your array, here is 3. Size, you can call it size, you can call it length. The length of your array here is 3. All right, and the index is 2. All right, if you want to know the index of your last value in array, you're going to look at the size of your array, and you're going to subtract 1 from it. For example, you might have up to 10 values in this array. If you have up to 10 values, 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have up to 10, for example, here. Now, your index, all right, your index here is going to be what? What is the last value? 10. 10 minus 1, 9, meaning that it will start from 0 and end at 9. Right? So in Java, I don't know, hold on. I just want to get a formal definition for it so that we are not confused. This thing is giving me JavaScript. So formally, when you are defining numbers.array, let me put it here. Numbers, or don't let me call it numbers, I can call it any name. Your array name dot length, your array name dot length is usually numbers of element in the array. That is the formal definition. So when you say your array name dot length, which is sort of what we were trying to do here earlier. Yeah. Okay, I think I've commented out F. Here is my F array. This is my F array. Okay, so yeah, I said F dot length, array F dot length. So I have array F here. So array F dot length is saying that the numbers of elements in array F, which is like the size of your array, so which is also the size of your array. Now, numbers of elements in array F earlier was 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 elements in array F, 4 elements in array F. Okay, so what we are now saying is the value less than 4, meaning that you will not consider 4. It has to be just less than 4, that is 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1, right? So index value 3, 2, 1 is what you will print. All right, so index value 0, index value 1, index value 2, index value 3. So we say index value 3, 2, 1. So index value 3, 2, 1. So you come here and check what is in index value 3, 5. What is in index value 2, 3. What is in index value 1, 2. And that was how we were able to print 2, 3, 5 here, because it's only considering the index. The moment you say your array, because we mentioned array here, your array, which is your F, it will start considering your index, not the value. So the condition here considers the index. All right, it considers the index. So I defined your array dot length as the number of elements in the array, which is also equal to the size of the array. However, when you are looking for the index of your last value, you say the size of your array minus 1. That is how you get the index of your last value. All right, I think is that clear? I was trying to give an example before this. Where's my example again? All right, so I will comment this out and give the example I wanted to give. I said int a equals to this. If int a equals to this, of course you can print out your array. Let me see if I can print it out here. System out. Print line. Where's my keyboard? Hold on. Okay. I just want to print out. Just want to print out my array A. So my array A is what I want to print out. Alright, so I'll come here, run this. What line is this? 61. Okay, that should be one of the things I'm supposed to comment out that I did not comment out. Okay, so this is what you get. All right, apparently okay, so what you're having here shows that it is an array. The fact that there's a bracket here shows that it is an array. What did I print out again? I printed out array A. What is my array A? This is my array A. Alright, this is my array A. So that is why it is like that. But I can also do it this way. For me to print it out this way, alright, asking it to print out the value in A, not just something that will help us recognize that it's an array. In Java, this is how you recognize that something is an array. All right, but if I want to print out each of the values, okay, just like this, then it means that I have to initialize my A, then give it, my high here, give it a condition, and so on. So this is what I will do. I will create a method. All right, I will create a method. I will create a method here. All right, so what method should I create now? I will create a method print array. Which one? Okay, yeah, by default, try it on your hand. It's going to print this same thing out for you. Or it might just be something like look like this, but of course it's going to have a square bracket. By default, this is what you will have. When you print in that way, when you just pick your array and just say, oh yeah, print A, that's what it will print out for you. Try it on your hand, you will get the same thing. That's because you are not being specific about the values in your array that you want to print. You can't just say, oh yeah, print the array name. So the brackets, yeah, we declare it. So it's, yeah, look at A, this is A, but A has values. A has all of this. So yeah, for you to now be able to print all of the values in A, the way it is looking like this, yeah, you have to like specify it. You have to specify it by saying this I or something like this. So we are going to do it now by using a for loop. All right, so let's do that. Try to print the values in our array using a for loop. So I will create a method, call it public static void print array. I'll call it void print array. Okay. int okay. Okay, so for I, for integer I, for I equals 0, starting from, let me say 1, for I equals to 1, I less than, what condition? I less than a dot the length again, okay, I plus increment by 1. What do we have? So we are saying that for integer starting from 1 to the last, increment each by 1. Okay, so here we have dot print. Let's use just print. Okay, print honestly, even me, I mix it up. Yeah, but I think I may know. Let's try it out. Let's try print and also try out print line and see what we'll get. So I have system.out.print this, and then after this condition is done, I also want it to print something, so I can put it here and say system.out okay. This one is saying put it inside. Okay, so if I put a closing bracket to it, that means I have to put a starting bracket too. All right, let me put it here. System.out the starting bracket. This one with the starting brackets. Okay. What should I make it? Okay, I think I'm done. Let me explain how this works. This is an example. Let's see that I was able to extract out from somewhere now. All right, now I have a method. I have this method print array, and somebody tell me something. I just declared an integer a here, meaning that the a I just declared here, what does it mean? Remember, I have an a here. Do I have an a here? I have an a here having all of these values. All right, now I have the same a here. Okay, it will still pick the same value of a. Why? Because I have not assigned any other different value to it. Okay, so it will still pick the same a here. Let's continue. So I want you to first print out this bracket. For example, let me comment this out so that you see what this thing will print first. But it will not print it. Why? Because somebody give me the reason. I think I've explained this thing severally in this class. You can see no usages, and you can see that this method is grayed out. Why do you think it is grayed out? Yeah, I'm waiting. Yeah, tell me why you think it is like that. Is it? This is our method name. So I decided to create a different method different from the main method. This is our main method. So I created an action on this array. I want it specifically to print this array in a different method, print array. Probably I want this print array to do something else. So that's why I had to create a different method, print array, for it. Alright. Now this method is taking in parameter array. It's taking in array. But if I execute it as it is right now, all of these things that is within the curly braces of this method will not get executed. It will only recognize everything inside the main method. Why do you think so? Why? Or shall I execute it so that you will see? Okay. So I will run this. Empty. So you see, you know why it is empty? This thing is empty. Let me see if I put "you are welcome" into my main method. Do you think it's going to execute? Yes. It's not going to consider the other method that I created. It will not consider it. It won't consider this. There's a reason for that. You can see no usages, like it does not recognize this method at all. Why do you think it's like this? Is the word declared? Do you call it declare? Okay, so I will take you back to how we did it the last time. All right, this is one of the classes we had. We discussed object method and so on. Is it this one or let me see, is it this one? Data operations. Okay. Okay, I think this is also part of it. Now, we mentioned that you have to instantiate. I think that is the word. Instantiate, not declared. So you want to make use of a method. All right, you want to make use of a method within a class. All right, in your main method you have to call it, and before you call it you have to instantiate it. Right, now if you look at this example that I mentioned here, all right, what is data operations? I think data operations is the class name here. So you first of all instantiate and say your class name, give it a name equals to new this. Then you now call your method by saying this name dot. So there is a method called addition result. If you scroll down you will see addition result. Where is it? Addition result. So this is addition result. If you don't call your method inside your main method, if you don't call this method, this is what we call dot this. So if you don't call it inside your main method, you are not going to be able to use that method at all. All right, so going back to arrays, so we can make use of this until you come inside here and you instantiate first by saying what is the name of this class. Name of this class is arrays. array, let me call it array equals to new arrays. Okay, then I will say this dot what is the method name again? Print array. All right, okay, so print array takes in what did it take in again? It takes in array A. So what will I ask it to print? I can say array A is 1, 2, 3. Is it not okay? So create method print array in arrays. I've already, hold on a second. I thought I already. Which one? Okay, this one. No, I can call it anything. You get. I can actually call it anything. I'm looking at should I okay, should I make it to string? No. Well, except I decide not to make this like this, then okay, I've removed that. Then I have that. Now, this first line here, I'm asking it to, can you see that this is no longer grayed out? Why? Because I have called it in the main method. Okay, now I have the first line here saying print out my array A. However, it should start with a curly braces. So if you print a curly braces, then it will now start from index 0. So if you start from index 0, that means that it will print out 4. It will print out 4, then it will now come to this line and say, okay, now after printing 4, start from 1 again, all right, and then do 1 plus 1, which is 2, which is what? Less than 9. The array length here should be 9 because I have 10 elements here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have it as sorry, it's not 9. Size, this is size, so it's 10. So I'm saying that start from 1, increment by 1, and check if it is less than 10. So what that means is we have 1 comma, we have 2 comma, increment by 1 again, actually until it gets to the last element, which is, what is the last element, which is 12, less than, it has to be less than, right? Less than 10, is 9. So of course it's going to print out the last element. All right, so it's going to start from 1 and print it up to the last element. The reason it's going to print the last element is because the last element is on index 10. All right, the last element is on index 10, and we are asking it to print in a condition such that it's going to be less than 10, which is 9. All right, so what do you think we will print out here? We will start from 0, index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4, index 5, index 6, index 7, index 8, and index 9. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, that is what it should print out. And this line is saying have a comma each time you print it. So you print the first one, you put a comma, print the second one, you put a comma, third one, comma, and after that put a curly braces. So that is all the grammar that we have here. So let me see if I run this. Okay, so okay, I think that's correct. I think now we can actually know the difference between print and print line now. So the first one says you are welcome. I think it's print this that I put here. All right, then of course it's written line by line. So the first one is this, you are welcome. So the second one here says print the first curly open curly bracket and start from index 0. So start from index 0, you have 4. All right, start from, that is array A index 0, array A index 0, so you have 4. Now come here and say if the index is 1, that is starting from index 1, print. All right, so what do we have? Index 1 is 2, and then 6, and then, so this index is supposed to be less than the size. The size is what? 10. All right, meaning that when it gets to 9 it should stop. All right, so when it gets to index 9, which is 12, it should stop. So it got to 12 and it stopped. Now this is comma, and then this is this. Then we have add a curly braces immediately after. That is it. But if I may say, the arrangement of this thing is not looking okay. Assuming I want to push what's the name? I want to push this 4 to be on this line, right? So I guess you know what print line is. Now print line says jump to the next line, I think, but print is well, don't let me conclude here. Let me do it again. So you know what I did? I removed this was print line before. I removed the ln there and made it just print. Now I have it on the same line, on the exact same line. Why? Because I use print and print here. All right, so is this that's okay, let's try this out too again, because sometimes I just mix both together. I mix both up. Okay, so I'm getting this. I'm wondering why. Okay, so it's still the same thing. Okay, what if we use print line for everything? What do you think it will be? Okay, okay, can you see? Okay, so it's I think the concept of it being on another line is actually what it is, right? Print line, so it started from 4, jump to the next line, then the next line, like that. So but sometimes it can, I don't know, it's not so stable. So most of the time people just prefer using print line or just print line, and when they see that it's not on the exact line, they change it back to print. But you do that most of the time. I don't know. Okay, so let's move on. So this is we have printed an array. We have made use of a for loop. We have also created a method applying the concept we have learned earlier to it. All right. There's also a method in string called in array called toString. All right, toString. We've been talking about integer. What of if the values in your array are actually string, that is, they are letters, they are words, they are characters and all of that? What of if they are string and they are not just numbers? What of if the array you declared was integer before, but the output is supposed to return a string? How then do you do that? So there is a method called toString. All right. We say the Java library provides utility class java.util.arrays that provides methods for working with arrays. So one of them, toString, returns a string representation of an array. So we can invoke it by saying arrays.toString. All right. So for example, I could come here and say system dot out dot print line don't print line and say arrays dot toString. Okay, so I can say arrays.toString, which that of what? Of array A. Of array A, it means that array A can be printed as a string, not just as an integer. All right. What is it printing here? Okay. Let me remove this line. Remove this line. Okay. All right. What other line should I remove? I could remove this line too. Okay. So I just want to see what the result will be when you print toString. Okay, did I import util.arrays? Okay, just so you know, you have to import arrays from util, right? Java util.arrays for you to be able to perform any array operation. Okay, now look at the results here. See what I'm having here. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So index 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, yeah, I know why it is it. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so because I removed index 0 from it, I removed this line from it, so I asked it to start from index 1. All right, so if you start from index 1, it means that you start from 4, and it means that it will no longer be 9 but 8. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Is it 9? Sorry, can somebody count this thing for me? I'm counting. Can you see my screen? Is 9. Okay, is 9. All right, and each of it starts from index 1 to 9. I mean index 0. No, index 0. It starts from index 0. Okay. All right, I think I've commented out this part, so the only part is this A. All right, so you know, when you say toString, it's considering each of these as a string, right? And that is why it is printing it in 9 places. So instead of how will I call it now? So it says, okay, this is array this is array A, this is array A, this is array A, this is array A in 9. You won't understand this way. Let me look for a more okay. Okay, so what we are saying is this toString is a string representation of an array. However, I don't want this thing to print. I don't want it to print. I don't want it to print in 9 places. What is? I don't want it to print in 9 places. Should I do that? Okay, I think I may know why. What on what line? 69, 69, 63, 69, 69. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. This is the output I'm looking for. Instead of just printing everything in and printing it, how will I say it now? Instead of printing each value as different arrays, it print just one array and highlight each of the values, each of the elements in that array as a string element. As a string element. That is what this thing does right now, right? So you use the toString method to do that. All right, I will continue. There's also something called arrays.copyof, but I will advise you to just practice generally with it, since that is not in for test automation. There are some things that you consistently make use of. I have mentioned them at the beginning of this class. You must know your OOP very well. You must know how to create methods very well. You must also know how to make use of for loop, all right, and the if else condition. I think that's basically what you should know about array. Well, except for the multi-dimensional array. Okay, assignment. We didn't do assignment for a while now. Assignment, if I don't do that, we will not move fast. Assignment, create, declare a multi-dimensional array. Use a method different from the main method to return output. Multi-dimensional. Okay. I don't want to go into multi-dimensional. It's a whole on its own. However, when we start working on real life applications, we might delve into it. Okay, so this is I think this is all for arrays for now. So what we are going into right now is let me see, do I still have time? What we are going, we still have some time. We'll just give some intro into OOP and then we'll continue tomorrow. Alright, so we said object oriented programming. So there are different styles to coding, to writing programmable codes, and to designing applications. Some people in those days, they make use of procedural methods. What procedural methods does is, instead of creating multiple classes and methods and reading calling your objects from different classes, instead of doing that, all right, instead of modularizing it, they just write it from A to Z, all right, and ask the system to start reading it line by line. You will see a whole application, it will have just one class or just two classes, and it will have long line of codes, probably 20,000 lines for big applications, and then it becomes very difficult to reuse the code. It becomes very difficult to debug it. It becomes very difficult if it breaks, if the application has a break somewhere or it fails somewhere, the entire application fails. So this is where OOP now comes in. So technologies like writing APIs, writing OOPs, page objects, they came in place. Why? Because writing your codes in this way allows for code reuse and proper maintenance. All right, so that's the essence of our OOP. And in automation, you will be making use of this a whole lot. Okay. You'll be making use of this a whole lot. So what do we mean by OOP? All right. Okay, so microservices came up when the API technology came up. So yeah, after OOP, API technology came up, and then microservices followed after. All right, API talks about application interfaces. Like for example, you go to a website and you see login, and you see sign up, and you see change password, and you see about us. So the about us endpoint, which is like your application interface, and your login endpoint, which is like another application interface, are different. So they decided that, okay, if about us is working, then it should work. It should not break down the entire application. And if it is login for users that are using the application, if it is working, then it should work. And but if forgot password is not working, or let me say sign up for new user, if it's not working, it does not get to affect those that already have access to the application. That is why the concept of endpoint, this endpoint, that endpoint. However, we discovered that even with proper integration, some of these endpoint fails. So I think that's why the concept of microservices came into play. All right, so microservices came into play. Hold on. Microservices. The real concept of microservices from the word micro, it means that because some of these APIs are sitting down on more than one services. Of course, some endpoints, some login endpoints have like 3, 4, 5 services attached to them. So if you are saying that the login endpoint is working, maybe login with Google or whatever, you will discover that some other endpoints are not working. All right, some of them are failing. So we don't want just a partial or we don't want some parts breaking, and we don't want inefficient systems. So the concept of microservices come into play, especially because of services attached to endpoints to application interfaces. So we said there can be multiple services to one endpoint, all right, to one API, all right, but vice versa cannot be the same. Like it is not vice versa. It can be one service to one API, and it can be multiple services to one API, but you can't have multiple APIs to one services. All right. So microservices, the concept of microservice now came is like another architectural style in developing software system where there is service independence. So this service, when it fails, it is independent, it's on its own, it does not get to affect other services, even though it is of the same endpoint, right? Even though it is of the same API. So that's what the concept of microservices. It makes applications, especially enterprise application, make it scalable, and make it efficient. So yeah. So most of the time now, even though we make use of the microservices architectural style and we have APIs, the method by which people write their codes now is OOP, because OOP allows for code reuse. The word code reuse, it definitely allows for code reuse, allows for aggregation. It makes access to other classes easy, it makes debugging easy, it just simplifies the life of a software developer. All right, so sorry, is that clear? Okay. Okay. Mm. Okay. Yes, that is what code reuse is. That's what the style with which you wrote the registration for this application, you can also make use of that style. The only thing you might have to change might be syntax, and so on. You know what syntax is? Maybe the name of your object, the name of your methods, and all of that. Yes. All right. So you're welcome. Then we're talking about OOP now. What are the components? What does it entail? We said OOP is a programming paradigm, or is a concept of objects. All right, it's a concept of objects. We mentioned objects on day one, and it is a way of designing and structuring your code. All right. So objects, or what are objects? Objects are instances of class. All right, why class is a blueprint of objects are instances of class. If you have seen a blueprint before, for those that are architects, they always have a blueprint before they construct their house, more like a map, or how the structure of their house will look like. That is a blueprint. So your class now will definitely show how your object will look like. So each of the elements in your class is considered your object and the blueprint of your class. So we say your objects are instances of class. So, and usually when making use of OOP, you see everything as objects. You see everything as objects, you see everything as classes. All right. So in OOP we have objects, we have classes, we have inheritance, we have abstraction, we have interfaces, and we have polymorphism. So, but we are going to pay attention to inheritance, we are going to pay attention to abstraction and polymorphism. So we said that what are attributes? We mentioned attribute the other time. We said variables belong to an object. Variables that belong to an object are usually called attributes. So every object has an attribute, and usually they are our variables. But you might also see them, you can also call them fields. So for example, um we made mention of a person. We made mention of a person as an object, and we said a person as an attribute of a name. So you can declare your name as a variable and give it a value. Okay, no, I'm not sharing. I'm just explaining generally. Here's my PowerPoint. I'm done with this. Okay, so this is OOP. Okay, so talking about attributes. Okay, I've talked about attribute, that every object has an attribute, and parameters. We made mention of parameters the other day. We say you can pass an object as parameter. When you write your method, like the example we did the other time, I almost passed in a parameter. If you remember, when I was writing method print array, there was a time I put in a parameter here. How did I call it? Okay, so yeah, I'm passing in what? A parameter. So object as parameter. I said this method is taking in a what? A parameter. That's what it means. All right. Now, because those are the keywords you'll be coming across as you start working with OOP. We also talked about return types. All right. So we said okay. So we said that we have our access modifier, which is like your public or private. We have a return type here, which is when you say void, it means that you're not having a return, or you're not taking in a parameter. But when you remove it, or when it is not there, or when it is integer or boolean, because you can put here public static integer, then you are showing that this method will take in an integer parameter or take in a boolean parameter. So it just shows your return type. That is what this shows here. It shows your return type. And we say objects are mutable. All right. You can change the content of an object by making an assignment to one of its attributes. So the other time, I wanted to say if I make my int a equals to another value here. All right. If I make my int a equals to another value here, just saying. Normally I shouldn't write it this way. Okay, so assuming I make a equals to, that means that it will override whatever values I have given in here. All right, so it will take in the new value. It will take in the new value and neglect the former value, previous value. All right, so objects are mutable. Okay, they can mutate. All right, now we'll continue. Okay, just want to be sure which area I got to before. So talking about classes, when you define a new class, you give it a class name. All right, so defining a class creates a new object. Just as you can see here, we have class arrays. You can call it any other name. All right, so when you write a class in OOP, you are creating a new object. All right, so every object belongs to the same object type, that is, it is an instance of some class. So every object here is an instance of class. When you say an instance, it's an example, it's a subset, so it's a subset of a class. The object in here is a subset of what is here. All right. So the new operator, talking about new operator, we mentioned new operator here. The keyword new, all right. The keyword new operator instantiates objects. It does what? It instantiates objects. So what we are saying here is that this is an instantiation. Think of a class like a blueprint for a house. You can use the same blueprint to build any number of houses. That is where the reusability comes in. All right. So we say that the blueprint for this house can be used to build another house. The blueprint, which is the class, okay, the blueprints, which is like objects within the class, can be used to build another class. All right, can be used to build another class. The methods that operate on an object type are defined in the class for that object. All right, so that is that. Talking about constructor, I talked about constructor, then I said I was going to repeat it again. Okay, so we said that constructor is a special method, right? After declaring the instance variable, the next step is to define a constructor, which is a special method that initializes the instance variable. This is a special method and it initializes. The difference in constructor and your normal method is that it initializes itself by the keyword this. So you have let's go back to when we were talking about constructor. So this is a constructor here. It has the same name as your class. Object person is also object person. Public class object person, public object person. So it takes in the, what's the name now, the object from the class, all right, and then it initializes itself to what? To the object attributes. All right, so what do we have here? We have this dot name equals to name. This dot, so it uses the word this. It uses the word this. So the name of the constructor is the same as the name of the class. Constructor has no return type, all right, and no return value. The key static is omitted. There's no static here, and it's just rules for writing constructor. So here is an example constructor. We mentioned an example constructor, and we say that we have a this dot this dot that equals to. So what you need to take note of is the keyword this, and the name of this constructor, meaning that it has to be the same name as your class name. When you see a method having the same name as your class name and having a this constructor, then you know that it is a constructor. All right, okay, when you invoke the keyword new, Java creates the object and calls your constructor to initialize the instance variable. When the constructor is done, new returns a reference to the object. We should do, we will work on it. I want us to move, okay? Because there are still a few things to discuss before. There are still a few things to discuss before we start the coding part. Okay. Now let's go back and start with okay. All right. So let's start with Example of inheritance. Before I go to example, let's discuss inheritance. So I'll give a brief or a brief summary of the keywords of what you'll be encountering as you code, as you write your OOP, right? I mentioned okay. Now let's start with creating a new class and calling it OOP inheritance. All right. So from the word inheritance, what do you think happens? So when you say somebody is inheriting something, there are inherent traits in someone. All right. So every children have inherent traits from their parents. You know, biologically they call it genetics, right? So you have some genes that is passed down from mother to child, you know, from parents to children, all right? So the attributes of the child that you are seeing is inherited from the parents. That is what we call inheritance. So you know, in the OOP we have my class is almost over. In OOP we have the parent class, we have the child class. The parent class, the child class. The child class inherits the object attributes from what? From the parent class. So the parent attributes it's passed on to the child class. All right. So that is what inheritance in OOP also means. It's the same principle. So we said that I've not seen a good example here. Okay, I've seen one. So we say inheritance allows a class, all right, subclass child to inherit attributes and methods from another class. It promotes code reuse and supports is a relationship, not as a, is a relationship directly from the parent class. So what do we have here? If we have a parent class, I can call it okay, I've already called it OOP inheritance. What if I call it something else? Let me rename this so that so I have animal. Okay, I have animal. So I said I have a parent class animal, right? And I want to create a child method, all right? I want to create a method that will inherit attributes from this animal. So how do I go about that? So I have public class animal, and animal has a name called let's say dog. String name string name declared. All right, so I have string name there, and I want to create a constructor. So I have a constructor. What will that be? Public what? Animal. Public animal checks in. What does it check in? It checks in string name. Alright, so if I say it's taking string name, then I'll make use of this keyword. I say this keyword dot Okay, that is my constructor. Let me add a comment to it. Constructor. So I want to show how you do inheritance. Okay, so I have this as my constructor. Then now I want to create a method. All right, a method which is more like, okay, so we say animal as a name, as a class, maybe a class like mammals, reptiles, blah blah blah. Then when you're writing your method, you say what are the action points. All right, I have called it, just so you know, in literally it means action points. So I want to create a method called does animal speak. Yeah, they have their own language. Dog barks, right? So I have um public void speaks. Public void speaks. We'll do only this one, and since the time is time is fast spent, we'll continue OP tomorrow. So public void speaks. That is the method I want to create, and I can put system dot print line and call it my dog barks. Okay, I'll call it my dog. However, like I said earlier, look at speaks, it is grayed out. You know that you have not made use of this thing. If you run it, nothing will get displayed here. I don't even have my main method yet. So let me run my main method and say public static void okay. Public static void. Now the system to go off here. Okay, so try to practice as much as possible when you get them. So we have my main method here. What do you think I will do? I will make use of the new keyword. Am I right? All right. I'll make use of okay. Before I get here, let me create let me okay, I'll come back here. So what we are trying to show is inheritance, right? We are trying to show inheritance. Okay, so this is the parent class animal. So we have parent class animals. All right, so we have parent. Let me put it here. Okay, so we have a parent class animal. So what will happen is I will create another class. I'll call it a dog class. Okay, so I will create another class. I will call it a dog class. I will ensure that a dog class does what? Eats. So in inheritance, what you do is you will make the child class to extend attributes from the parent class. So you use the keyword extend. So if I create another class and call it dog, for example, I will say public class dog extends animal. All right, by saying extend animal, it means that it is extending or it is retrieving attributes from the parent class. All right, so it's accessing attribute from the main parent class and making use of it. So you use the keyword extend. You use the keyword extend. All right, so I'll come here and say let me put it to after my main class. So I will say public creating another class. I want to create it within the same class. I don't want to create another file. So actually public class dog, okay, that's a class dog extends extends animal. Okay, public class dog extend extend animal. Okay, so I have an error here. What is that error? Public dog yeah, so for you to use the word no I don't want to do this. Okay, for you to use the word extend, it means that you have to create a super class, a super constructor. Okay, let me explain. What error am I still getting? I don't want to move class dog to docs.java. Okay, let me move it because this ID I didn't want to create it initially, but let's just move it to another file here. So I've moved it. It's outside of animals now. Okay. So here, just so it is clear, let me explain. This is class animal, which is our parent class. So I have created our parent class here. However, I'm going to create a child class separately, which is this. So you use the keyword extend. It will extend animal here. All right, and then when you extend the animal here, what you will make use of is what we call super. So we are saying that name here is a super attribute that was gotten from parent animal. Look at it here. It's a super attribute that was gotten from parent animal. So I come here back to dog. And say super name. Okay. All right. So now you create another method. Let me create a method and say create another method and say, so I said extend animal. All right, so I can say public void speak, public void speak. Okay, now public void speak, call it anything. System.out print line. I can say okay, what did I call the name of the dog here? I called it string name equals to dog. Okay, so when I come here, I can call it name says says boo boo. Okay, so that is how my dog barks. All right. However, so you can see that there is speak here. I think I have speak here too. I have a method. Okay, so I have a method. Okay, it's not the same thing. No, I thought it's the same method I used. Okay, so I have speaks and I have speak over there, but those methods are not used yet. I have speak, my dog barks, and I have a main method here. This is my parent family. Now, this is my child family. Extending attributes from animal, having a super method, which is a constructor. Since we have the scale constructor in the parent method, for you to be able to now inherit attributes, you use the keyword super. Okay, then you also have the speak. We have speak. So this is another method I created for dog, specifically for this class. Dog. Why is this mouse like this? Okay, so for this class dog, I say that the name of my dog, which is dog, says Bubu. All right, so that is not all. Then I want to be able to okay, so let me write my main method. I need to end it here since I'm not doing polymorphism yet. Okay, so public static void main. Okay, write your main method and say string. We have made use of inheritance several times without knowing. Okay, so what do I have here? You make use of the keyword new, so I'm going to say let me do it inside okay, so say dog, I'll say dog. Cast a new dog. My dog is called Jack. All right. Then I will say dj dot so instead of making use of the speak method here, I will make use of this speaks method in my parent class, just so you see what inheritance does here. All right, so remember my method is speak. I've not used it, and in my animal I have speaks, so I have used it. So I have decided that I am calling a method from my parent class. I want to make use of it in my child class. So I have dog dot speaks. So what then should I do here? I will now see inside my parent class animals. Then I will say system.out.print. What should they print? System.out.print. Okay. Okay. the print name concatenated as no, I'm not making a static. Let me just say, here is my dog Jack. Here is my dog. Here is my dog. Jack. Okay. So we have my dog barks. Here is my dog Jack. So this is what we have in the parent class. And in the child class, what do we have? We have Jack as the name of dog. Alright. So if I run this, what will I get? My dog barks. Can you see my dog bark on this page? Can anyone see my dog barks on this page? No. My dog bark is not on this page. Why? It is in my parent class. But I have decided to inherit attribute from the parent class. Whenever I run this child class, it will return attributes of what? Of my parent class. So my dog barks is what? Is here. Alright? My dog barks is what? Is here. Okay? Now, it has returned. So, what if another thing I can do is to, I can call this method speak, which is what? A method in my child class. I can call it inside my parent class. So, how do I go about it so that we can print my dog says Bobo? Okay, so let's come to here and say animal cost new animal and say what is the name? Jack. Jack. Okay, so I will call that method animal dot what is that method? This is parent class, right? What is that method inside dog I want to call speak? Okay, then I'll come here and say dot speak. All right. So what do I have here? Private void speak. All right. Okay. So yeah, that is right. I think this is very, very right. So this speak is within the child class, right? So there is no way I can call the child class from within the parent class without using extend on the method or creating a private void method. So we talked about private keyword the other day. What do we say about private? We said private is an access modifier. It ensures that a method or the attribute of an object is only accessed within that class. So for me to make use of speak, it means that I have to, so I'm not going to do this. We've showed our inheritance already, so we'll talk about this again in our next class. All right, so we've talked about inheritance, so let me explain inheritance again as we round up. Time is fast spent. So I created a parent class called animal, and I gave it an attribute of a name. As I called it a dog, All right, then I created a constructor. My constructor is the name of my class, and I say this the name, that is the name of the attribute. All right, the name of this attribute, all right, equals to the name. Yeah, so then I created a method, usually of course the normal way we create method, and I created main method also. Usually we create a main method. Now because this is a parent class, I want to show inheritance. So what do? I will create a child class and make the child class inherit attributes of the main class. So this is the attribute name. I want it to inherit the look at it, one inheritor. So I want it to inherit. So I want dog class, which is my child class, I want it to inherit from my parent class. So what did I do? I say public class dog extends animal. So extends is the keyword, it has to extend attribute from animal. So I created super. Super means that you are trying to retrieve this particular attribute, all right, from the parent class, all right, from the parent class animal. Now I created a method and I created a main class. So inside my main class, I instantiate the dog class name, and then I called the method that I want to execute. The method I want is what speaks, which is inside my main class. This is the exact thing I'm trying to inherit. This is what I'm trying to inherit. All right, so it is inside my my parent class. So because it's inside my parent class and I need it inside my child class, I decide to say what this dot speaks. So whenever I call this method here will run my dog barks. All right, so that is an example of inheritance, and we call this a day. All right, thank you so much everyone. We are done with this class. All right. Okay. Animal. Okay. Okay. This one. Yes, I asked you to ignore this because I've already showed inheritance. So inheritance means you inherit attributes of yeah, from your child class you inherit attribute from your main class, which we have already done. This is something else and we will talk about it. So there is a way you can also make your methods. You implement several methods within a class, and then you make your parents inherit it and so on, but it is not in this class. All right. Yeah, so that is it. Thank you everyone.